Welcome to this session. Happy Monday morning. What a great week. What a great way to start the week, at least for me. I don't know about you, but I'm very excited to be here. Should I share my screen right away, Ellen? Or not yet?
You can share your screen.
Sure. I think I'm, and if you could please enable my screen sharing, that would be
you
good.
should be able, that should have been on there.
I am, it says I'm disabled.
Oh,
to screen share.
Let's see. I need to go into.
While Ellen is figuring out the screen sharing, I will introduce myself. My name is Elena Neunaber. I am an ESL instructor at the Community College of Baltimore County and Harford Community College, where I teach the life skills program. I have over 20 years of teaching ESL in Russia, my home country, and the United States, my second home. I am also a translator and a linguist and a fan of anything that is related to languages, studying of a language. My interests include bilingualism, multiculturalism. I try to stay on top of topics that are connected with languages, especially in this interesting and curious time, and that touches every aspect of our life. So I am ready to begin whenever you say I can.
Okay, so just hold on.
Okay.
Because I am not seeing where in settings I can allow you to share your screen. Let's see.
It's wonderful to have so many ESL instructors in the audience. I was just talking to Ellen before that sometimes we get so immersed in what we do as instructors that we don't have much chance to talk to our colleagues. So I hope that this session provides us with a chance for a discussion, and we can, please feel free to share your thoughts on anything that you hear or ask questions.
319-372 is not available. At the tone, please record your message. When you finish.
All right, I still can't share my screen.
Okay, sorry, I am working on that. I'm going to see if I can go back in and pick it up and then share it also. So if you just hold on just a minute. So I apologize for that. Doesn't matter. Oh my gosh. Oh my God.
I see some fellow faculty members from CCBC in the audience. It's nice to see you here.
Oh my gosh, I can't even get to the.
And there should be an option of making me a co-host or even a host, and that way I can share my screen. If you click on the top right hand, the three little dots on top of the picture, when you click on my picture, I think you can make me a co-host or a host, and that allows me to share my screen if you can, if it's possible, of course.
Okay, so you should now be able to do that.
Yes, I am. All right. So welcome to the session called Effective Methods of Andragogy in a Digital ESL Classroom. This is my official welcome. Thank you again for being here. And I will skip my presentation because I have already introduced myself. In this presentation, we are going to explore effective methods of andragogy in a digital ESL classroom. Specifically, it will explore successful practices of online instructions of low proficiency ESL learners. These are our objectives. We're going to discuss digital literacy elements that are required to navigate a digital classroom. We'll share instructional techniques that support students of various language proficiency levels. And we'll examine the use of problem-centered topics, metacognitive assignments, multimedia aids, differentiated and team-building activities to increase student success and participation. The methodology is based upon Malcolm Knowles' approach to adult learning, that is andragogy, and the digital literacy framework for adult learners created by the Maryland Department of Labor. We have also found indispensable a book titled Small Teaching Online by Flower Darby and James Lang as a reminder of foolproof strategies for an online class. To begin with, let's revisit how interconnected all 7 elements of the DLF are. In this presentation, we use examples from the module Careers and Jobs that has been designed with reference to 5 elements of digital literacy framework: technical, civic, communicative, collaborative, and investigative. The sources are Burlington English Software, English in Action textbook, Google Slides, and various online teaching and learning tools. Throughout the lesson, I use Google Slides to present the material, give instructions, and collect feedback. Interestingly, at the time of proposal submission to participate in the Virtual Institute, we focused on applying only 4 elements of the DLF: technical, civic, communicative, and collaborative. However, since then, we have successfully started applying an investigative element and recognized that in due time, both computational and productive elements might be employed as well. These elements are not instantly applicable to ESL classes, especially low and high beginner levels. At least this is what we have found in our experience with such learners. Although educators have gotten used to a swift transition to remote, synchronous, and asynchronous formats of instruction delivery, and realized that the need for digital literacy is clear, actual teaching and using technology in an online classroom can still be puzzling. Of course, most students and faculty are already comfortable using a wide range of digital tools and websites. We Google mostly everything, right? However, this doesn't mean that our students know how to use the same tools for learning purposes. And that is when technical element of digital literacy comes first. In the beginning of the semester, we start small. It takes time to get used to performing multiple steps to access the class. Our class meets on Zoom. Because students access the link through the Burlington English app or website each time logging in, they hone their browser navigation skills, as well as username and password application. Once in Zoom, we walk through the functions of the video platform and learn to troubleshoot any issues. For example, using the chat, muting background noises, or tapping on emojis to react and ask questions. Another aspect of the technical element is the ability to navigate on a variety of digital devices and platforms. One of the principles of andragogy states that adults work best in an autonomous, self-directed setting. How does technology assist such learners? According to researchers, autonomous students read and comprehend the course material, synthesize it with their own experiences, and create deeper understanding relatable to experiences. We have found out that working autonomously applies minimally to students with low language proficiency, and that they need to learn how to learn and be continuously guided in their efforts. Let's take a look at a couple of examples. In these exercises, here's another one, here's another example. Students are instructed to switch between browser windows to access Google Slides and a PDF reader. While such multitasking may confuse them at first, the options give students a sense of self-directedness and eventually improve their digital literacy skills. You may notice that the top left example contains the full web link and not the embedded hyperlink. The purpose of including the full link is, again, to start small, no matter how paradoxical it sounds, and provide more literal and even graphic directions that students see on their screens. When instructions said click here, some students actually struggle to understand them at first. There is another valuable reason ESL instructors can help enhance students' technical skills. When we make classroom material available asynchronously, as in the case with the Google Docs or slides, learners become more independent and intrinsically motivated to review vocabulary, watch topical videos, elicit correct answers, and access specific course content at their own convenience. One of the most effective and indispensable methods of adult instruction online is what the researchers call creating a climate for collaborative learning or building community. It has become apparent that in a successful interactive online classroom, communicative and collaborative elements go hand in hand. Now let's take a look at the two types of communication and discuss how we can facilitate them in our online instruction. We have divided the communication into two types, interpersonal or intercultural and interpersonal. Interpersonal and intercultural we further subdivided into Netiquette and civics and Translanguaging. And the second category, the intrapersonal communication, is subdivided into self-reflection or metacognition and digital tool selection. So we will begin by discussing the interpersonal or intercultural component. In an ESL class, interpersonal communication is by default intercultural and layered with other nuanced and multifaceted differences. Here is an example of activity that is both personal, communicative, and fun, because that's what we want a lot of our assignments to be, right? What seems like a simple icebreaker, such as how do you say hello in your native language, not only recognizes our unique backgrounds, but engages the class in a conversation and facilitates retention of certain material. For examples, answers to questions, which languages do we speak in this class, or which words sound the most difficult, help practice correct use of the third person singular or degrees of comparison. We are moving on to the next element of interpersonal communication, which is translanguaging. Ophelia Garcia defines it as the act performed by bilinguals of accessing different linguistic features of autonomous languages in order to maximize communicative potential. Examples of translanguaging in action may be the following. First, two students working together who have different first languages, so they are moving in and out of English to communicate. This is a very common example for our classes. Another example, two Spanish speakers using English only as their main language or blending the two during their learning process. The main idea is that students are using elements of each language together to communicate more effectively. I'm certain that you have witnessed students engage in translanguaging in your classes. If not, I strongly recommend that you practice doing that with them. In an online ESL classroom, particularly with beginners, pairing students with the same first language helps add to their knowledge and make connections between ideas. This practice also adds to students' orientation to learning that becomes learner and problem-centered and not teacher-centered. All in all, translanguaging is a powerful communication tool for learning that helps students support one another and master the intricacies of the studied language. For beginner learners, whether as a whole class or in breakout rooms, using all our language resources can be very valuable. Additional elements that make interpersonal communication even more successful are knowledge of civics and netiquette. Students are reminded of netiquette principles in the beginning of each semester, and sometimes each lesson. We consider netiquette a guideline for both verbal and written communication in an online classroom. That being said, we discuss that no matter how we meet online or face-to-face, it is important to acknowledge presence of others, answer questions, and greet each other. For example, when students would not answer my question, "How are you today?" I explained that they come off as either not understanding what I'm saying or rude, or they don't like me, to which they laugh and say, "No, we like you." The number of times we do everything online, including communicate and socialize, has increased significantly. We believe that overlooking the fact that our students can't do small talk or carry a simple conversation is detrimental to them as residents and, like all of us, as people whose social skills are resurfacing from lockdowns and quarantines. While beginners are oftentimes reluctant to speak, they may type their answers or ask questions in Zoom chat, where they are expected to adhere to conversation norms in the digital space. Hence, using translanguaging as a tool, observing rules of netiquette and civics really leads to building on communicative tasks by role-playing conversations, such as the ones you see on this slide. This becomes particularly topical when learning about employment and behavior in professional setting or any other topics that students can relate to. The two elements of intrapersonal communication, metacognition and digital tool selection, correlate virtually with every principle of andragogy in online teaching and learning. Incorporating assignments that can make students practice self-reflection and self-evaluation becomes invaluable in fostering their readiness to learn. In this activity, students are instructed to think how well they know the words and write them in the appropriate column in the chart. This is the example of student pair work in Google Slides, where they mark their choices with their initial if they want. It is also a good way to boost students' self-esteem when they see that their list in the can use confidently column is longer than in the others. And we use this vocabulary over and over again throughout the lesson. And this activity is typically implemented at the beginning to evaluate their knowledge of the terms that we use in this particular module. When it comes to digital tool selection, we can offer tools that meet specific needs of adult learners, facilitate the development of information and technology literacy skills, allow for differentiation and customization of learning, provide accessibility for all learners, respect student data and privacy, and what is more importantly, support independent tool use. On the right-hand side of the slide are some examples of online tools and platforms that we can access and explore in class. Later on, these can help students practice integrated language skills, curate resources, build a digital CV, and generally find digital content, create it, consume it, act on it, and share it. And that is build a strong foundation for the digital literacy skills that are required in the real jobs. And before I discuss the collaborative element and sample exercises in more detail, I would like to ask you a question. What digital literacy obstacles do your students face? Please type your answers in Zoom chat and be sure to address your message to everyone. I will give you a couple of minutes for this activity. We're already getting some answers, and it's great to see them. So when you say that many adult learners have a hard time using technology, could you be a little more specific? What is it that they're struggling with? I absolutely agree that they only have cell phones and no computer available during class time. I have witnessed this myself, and unfortunately it's not helping our students, because when we design the lesson, for example, using Google Slides or a particular platform, we do want them to use a computer to get the most out of the platform and our lesson. Correct. Poor Wi-Fi, absolutely. Background noise, difficulty sharing the screen, absolutely. Access to affordable devices and connection, true. Mobile phones, not enough time to practice independently. Unfortunately, these are very common obstacles that our students face. Lack of access to computers, lack of a quiet place to take class on a phone, share content on Google Slides. I remember having several students not knowing how to share their screen so I could help them navigate the slides we were using, and I would take a picture of our Zoom class and then show them the picture and point to the share button. Sometimes you do what you got to do. I mean, I wish I could do more for them during the class, but sometimes even these efforts are limited. Having access to the technological tools and the expertise in knowing how, absolutely. That's why we need to teach them how to learn, right? Navigating from Zoom to another application and back, correct. The answers sometimes are not complete. Using a laptop or computer, not just their phones. Powering computer, think sometimes we overestimate how we overestimate the knowledge that our students have about tech tools. We think that everybody knows how to use a computer, and in fact, they don't. Well, I think we, judging by the answers that we have received, I think there are a lot of common and obstacles that we all face as ESL instructors and facilitators and specialists, tech issues. All right, well, thank you so much for your input. I am glad to see that we all share similar problems in our online classes. All right, now let's turn to collaborative element. When we picture an online classroom, we sometimes get so focused on how we perceive the information that is being presented. And if we are a student, for example, and then being a teacher, we sometimes focus too much on material presentation. So, sorry, there we go. Possibly the most challenging task in online instruction is to get students to collaborate, especially low proficiency students. Challenges are numerous, including but not limited to inability to work with others using a variety of technology modes, cultural challenges associated with working with others in the digital space, or simply disliking teamwork. I have many students who say that right away or show it non-verbally by simply not participating. So what can we do to provide opportunities for individuals to work together in real time or at their own pace in an online setting? Based on the digital literacy framework guidelines, we should include the following components when we design lessons. The first is teamwork, for learners to take on different roles and responsibilities and work effectively with others to achieve common goals. Problem solving, to encourage students to analyze issues and come up with solutions, to share different points of view. Expanding horizons, to assist with using digital tools to expand learning experiences. And finally, being engaged, to make students feel valued and become confident to share ideas. Let's look at several examples of collaborative activities. In this warm-up activity, students brainstorm while I share the screen and type their answers. Google Slides or Zoom Whiteboard serve as a great tool to generate ideas with the whole class before teaching the main part of the lesson. I have to admit that I have to act quickly while teaching and combining my own knowledge of tech tools, because when students are finished brainstorming and I finish typing their answers right before their eyes, I quickly create different slides where I copy and paste their answers so that they can see them, because a lot of students learn visually, in particular ESL learners who need to see anything that we use, whether it be instructions or their answers. And I also like to offer them not really the answer from the textbook, but something that a learning platform offers us, right? So I say, compare your answers. And we look at the, I forget what it is, at the bubble with all the different arrows and what was offered to us and how much we came up with. And again, it's a great confidence boost when we can come up with more than was offered to us by a textbook. As we scaffold activities, The next step includes real-time work in breakout rooms. That also includes role plays and other types of group work to achieve common class goals. In this task, learners first brainstorm what words and phrases come to mind when they think of a word career. Then they use a prompt to write down the steps that a person takes to build a career. They type their answers in their own Google slide and work at their own pace. I am particularly proud of my students when they don't use just words, but word phrases. Or in exercise number 1, they may just come up with words, depending on their knowledge of a particular word. But in the second exercise, they actually try to write out steps and write more phrases. It almost comes intuitively to them. All right, let's see what's next. Here's another slide where you will see sample assignments that we practice doing in breakout rooms. Now, over the course of teaching low proficiency students, we have come to realize that pairing them in a breakout room one-on-one has turned out particularly effective for speaking practice. There were doubts at first. We even thought, how would they communicate? But it's almost like throwing them out and letting them swim, and they have no choice but to talk to each other. So they really try very hard to do that. They become more confident and comfortable to share ideas. And they typically extend their language practice beyond the assigned examples. Some students get carried away, in a very good sense, of course, and really want to share what they have to say, because they have that opportunity to speak one-on-one. And taking time to work with a student one-on-one means the instructor acknowledges the adult learner's experience and knowledge and shows sensitivity to students' current needs. We can also express care by asking probing questions. For example, this was very recent because, of course, we struggled with using technology in this way or that way. So we did some self-reflection and answered questions. How do you feel about using technology in the classroom? It gets them to reflect on their progress and share immediate concerns. Alternatively, you can ask best or least questions that nudge students to think about different perspectives and rely on their experience. For example, what's the best or worst thing about using technology in the classroom? And these can be applied to any topics, right? One of the most successful practices in our online classroom is real-time instructional collaboration. I am very fortunate to have an instructional aide, and we often model dialogues to increase material retention. Such presentations are very much enjoyed by adult learners, thanks to improvised and personalized nature of these interactive activities that allow students to practice what they're learning later on. It's possible to involve a student with a higher level proficiency to role play dialogues and show the others the examples and present them as templates for further exercises. So I would strongly recommend improvised dialogues if it's possible in your classroom, of course. Let's see. Adult learning is first and foremost experiential in nature. Here are some examples of interactive tools that promote active participation during the lesson and keep students engaged. And energized too, because when they come to class after a hard day's work, not everybody wants to do exercises. Sometimes they just want to play, and including these, let's say in the middle of the class, really helps keep the energy level up. Edpuzzle is a fun way for teachers to make video lessons for their students. The best part about Edpuzzle is that the videos are easily customizable, and instructors can edit them right on the website and save the videos to their content collection. It's a great resource to use to create at-home practice work for your students, or use the videos in class. The recent video that I found particularly useful in my class was the one where I could play it several times, but when I customize it, I add more questions to it. So definitely check out Edpuzzle if you're still not familiar with that. Jeopardy labs and trivia are fantastic sources of practice and warm-up activities. They create a sense of competition among students. They are a great way to engage students of any proficiency level into playing and practicing, which is most important for, let's say, grammar retention. All in all, research shows that students' retention rate increases significantly when they are engaged in active learning methods online. Now we have a second question of today's session, and that is, what has worked best for you in facilitating ESL classes online? Please share with us. These could be online platforms that you are using, or some tricks you have up your sleeve. So go ahead, and we will be very happy to learn what they are. And I think we don't have that much time left, but I definitely would like to see some answers in our Zoom chat box. And while you are working hard on answering this question, I will definitely go back and acknowledge the comments that you left in the chat box and answer other questions that we have here. So we have breakout rooms with a purpose, allowing students to present using graphic organizers, semantic maps, timelines, discussing topics that are relevant, reflecting on what worked well. Edpuzzle, and they seem to enjoy it, I agree. Give a topic to discuss, go into breakout rooms to discuss, debrief as a class. Read-alongs with students, reading out loud. We do that all the time, beginning from instructions to their answers and what they submit on Google Slides. Yes, absolutely. collaboration space in Teams, Jamboards, Kahoot, Mentimeter, Quizlet, true. Students made video presentations on our department YouTube channel. That sounds great. Jamboard, Google Forms sounds familiar to them. Even we are on a screen, smile and maybe a joke would warm the environment. Absolutely. Song may reduce the stress. I like that. I'm going to take lots of notes after our session. Yes. How could I not think about playing music, right? Role playing for the lower class works very well. Nearpod YouTube videos. We can certainly assist students in many ways, right? Google platforms, WhatsApp, FaceTime. At the same time, we don't want to overwhelm them. I have realized that incorporating a new element or tool with some students must come very slowly because they get, as you rightfully mentioned, frustrated, afraid, right? We don't want to overload. Sometimes it's cognitive overload, it's physical overload, mental, when they have to figure so many things out, right? Asking questions on the topic by turn, that way everyone gets a chance to answer. Breakout rooms. I totally agree that Burlington English is a great tool. Flipgrid. Students at the same level of proficiency work better together. I couldn't agree more. As instructors, we do pair them according to their levels, and that certainly works best for everyone. I agree. Virtual exercise, paired tree. Brain breaks where students can get up and move during class. Absolutely. Now, when I begin the class, which meets, for example, on Monday, we always talk about how our weekends, what we did. A lot of times when there was a holiday or the holiday is coming, then we talk about what kind of holiday it is. For example, prior to Memorial Day, we talked about what it is. So we had a little bit of civics discussion. And I also asked students to share if there is a similar holiday in their own country. And it was great to know. First, I mean, as an instructor, it was great to learn about their culture, right? But it makes them feel good to talk about their own country and what takes place there. And we can help guide the conversation, and it's wonderful. I also stress throughout the lesson a couple of times, not all the time, that they are in this class because they, well, as they say, they want to improve their English, because that's what they all say, right? But I encourage them to speak because I say it's your time to speak. Don't forget, we are here for you. And it kind of brings them, you know, this new sense of reality that, oh, that's right, maybe I should try a little harder because it's all about me. So adding that confidence boost and self-esteem is really, really helpful, because remember, we're here for you. Just ask anytime. It's your time, right? Sometimes with my credit classes, I would wave a textbook and say, remember, you bought the textbook, you paid money for it, right? So you'd better use it. It's a little different with the life skills program, but we can tailor it to the needs of the students and the attention that must be kept throughout the lesson. Drawing a correlation between our holidays is very important. I agree that the civics component is interwoven constantly. And when students, again, going back to the question, to the exercise, when they wouldn't answer a question, I asked, how was your weekend? And the class would be silent. And maybe one person would say, it was great, but the others would be quiet. And I said, you know, that's not how it works here. You really should give some kind of answer. And we joke, again, we add a component of laughter anytime we can. It really, really breaks the ice that may form due to frustration or not knowing how to express themselves, right? Now, I'm curious if you, I don't want to say advertise, but if you talk about any apps that students can use on their own, such as Duolingo, do you do that? How do you encourage them to work outside of the class? I know we actually have a little more time. I was here earlier, so my clock is ticking. But we have a couple of more minutes. So what do you do to encourage them to practice their skills, integrated language skills outside of the class? Apart from homework, in the life skills program, we require that the students spend 2 hours in Burlington English a week. Get a study partner, wonderful. Burlington English, pronunciation practice, yes, voice recording, true. I mimic it all the time with my phone. Encouraging to volunteer, that's wonderful. Google Classroom. The CellEd app, students can use it on app or through texting. It is great for students with limited data. Watch TV and listen to the radio in English. Video project with family member. You are so full of wonderful ideas. I'm going to write them all down after our session is over. Thank you so much for these great ideas. And trust me, there are, and as you, of course, out of all people, know how many resources there are out there, and we can't lay our hands on all of them, right? But we can only use what works for our students, right? When we customize our lessons, when we want to achieve the goals that we set before our lessons. Listen to podcasts, I love it. My personal favorite. So just to sum up everything that we have discussed today, new technologies appear in digital spaces constantly, right? And we must recognize that practices are always changing and new needs arise to examine and redefine what is meant by reading, writing, and speaking online activities. After all, it's so different from face-to-face classes, and the approach is completely opposite and must be tailored every time we design a lesson for an online class. But when designing online lessons and delivery, we should combine problem-solving activities that can be immediately applied to adult learners' lives. Right? And we should always keep in mind that everything that we teach them in our lessons must be applied to them either for their future jobs or at their current jobs, correct? We must be collaborators, both teachers and students in our classes, because the complexities, advantages, and limitations of digital space are so numerous that it's hard for us to navigate them. And it is only when we collaborate that we achieve the goals and find what works best for us. So thank you so much for being part of this session. I am very pleased to see such great participation in our Zoom chat. I thank you very much for your time this Monday morning. And I hope you have a great week. I hope this was a nice, energetic start to your week. It certainly was for me. And I will answer some messages here. I'm getting them as I speak, so I'm feeling a little overwhelmed. Yes, thank you so much. Thank you. I'm really happy that you enjoyed the presentation. Thank you. Yes, I am going to make Ellen a host. Let's see.
Thank you so much, Elena. I am sure that everyone learned so much through the sharing and through your experiences. So I have put into the chat, you have your feedback survey. So please remember to leave feedback for Elena. That will be a gift to her. And then also I have posted the proof of participation link. It's also on the VTI website. So you only need to fill that out one time for all of the sessions that you have attended, and we will be getting those proof of participation letters out to you as soon as possible. So thank you once again, Elena. Your presentation was wonderful. And thank you for all of you who attended her session today. I know that you enjoyed it. So have a great day, everyone.
Thank you so much.
You're so
Thank you, Ellen. Thank you for your help.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.